The public-facing world of the British royal family appeared to be going as usual one day. A masterclass in conventional continuity and staged stability, where each appearance is planned to convey confidence. However, one of Princess Eugenie's most prominent and significant responsibilities had subtly vanished the following day. No heartfelt parting speech was posted on social media, no dramatic announcement was made by the palace press office, and seasoned palace insiders did not provide a long, in-depth explanation to allay the public's initial interest. Abrupt and complete quiet. When a prominent and well-connected member of the royal family abruptly resigns from a high-profile, influential position without prior notice or clear explanation, people naturally begin to ask questions. In royal circles, institutional silence can occasionally be much louder than any official statement. In newsrooms, they inquire. They use digital venues to ask them, and they ask them in the very halls of authority. Was it really just a normal, prearranged departure that signaled the end of a typical work term, or was something even more significant and intricate taking place completely behind the scenes, out of the public's prying eyes? Prominent royal analysts claim that the date of Princess Eugenie's abrupt and unexpected departure has generated a great deal of passionate conjecture that goes much beyond a straightforward job move or a typical professional transition. What at first seemed to be a simple, everyday administrative change has progressively become intricately linked to more general, extremely delicate conversations about royal housing arrangements, public financial accountability, the reputation of the entire family, and the increasing social pressure that members of the wider royal family are currently under. If those intricate relationships are true, this story may eventually have little to do with a particular position or charitable nomination, and everything to do with a monarchy that is radically evolving and changing its laws in real time. Join us as we dissect these layers, because what follows paints a far bigger, more complex picture than most people are aware of, highlighting the intense conflict between historical privilege and contemporary public scrutiny. Princess Eugenie held a very special and delicate place in the intricate structure of the modern royal family for many years. She did not function within that official institutional structure, in contrast to senior working royals who perform a rigorous schedule of official public obligations on behalf of the Queen and get public pay for doing so. Even yet, she continued to be very well known, incredibly well connected, and actively involved in a wide range of civic activities, cultural endeavors, and charity organizations. In addition to aggressively pursuing an independent professional identity and a self-sufficient career outside the historic palace walls, she was able to maintain a precise behavioral balance that very few modern royals have ever managed to achieve, staying close enough to the center of royal life to remain deeply relevant and respected. She received plaudits from many quarters of society for her meticulous balance, which appeared to work incredibly well for a considerable amount of time. Eugenie was seen by many independent observers and media experts as one of the most grounded and approachable members of the younger royal generation, someone who respected her ancestry while understanding the realities of the contemporary working world. She gradually established a strong public image based only on her sincere charitable endeavors, fervent support of important social concerns, and a comparatively contemporary, approachable style of public life. She continued to play a crucial stabilizing role in the larger royal landscape, even though she was able to steer clear of many of the explosive issues and negative headlines that frequently dominated the media environment, involving other more divisive members of her extended family. For this reason, both the public and the media immediately took notice of her official appointment to a prominent leadership and mentorship position inside a reputable non-profit organization. This particular role signified far more than a standard nominal appointment to a charitable board to many seasoned royal observers and institutional analysts. It seemed to indicate that the palace saw Eugenie as a crucial link between the old monarchy and contemporary civic society, indicating a rising institutional trust in her future role. Naturally, the prominent role raised her profile in the public eye, greatly broadened her professional network, and provided her with a bigger, more powerful platform to advocate for the particular social problems she had long supported. Everything seemed to indicate to a potential new chapter in her public career that would have a significant influence, indicating a path of consistent development and flawless public service. Then this exciting new chapter ended almost as swiftly as it had started. Even seasoned royal commentators were utterly taken aback by how quickly she left the role. Eventually, a succinct official explanation surfaced, claiming that her assigned tenure had merely ended as first anticipated behind closed doors, and implying that there was nothing at all remarkable or problematic about the transfer. However, many critical observers were completely persuaded by this neat, tidy story, pointing out that the sudden timing caused significant concerns in the media. The question of why someone who was widely regarded as a highly valuable and profoundly committed contributor would resign from such a prominent and powerful position after less than a year in office rapidly and vehemently surfaced. Beneath the polished exterior of the formal statement, was there another, far more complex story taking place, or was the departure genuinely routine? Because of this extreme uncertainty, there was a great deal of conjecture, which led royal analysts to start closely analyzing the larger systemic background of Eugenie's career. The ongoing controversy surrounding her father, Prince Andrew, has unavoidably drawn public and media attention. Whether it is fair or unfair, many independent analysts contend that the York name still carries a significant amount of heavy reputational baggage that complicates every public endeavor associated with it. Long-lasting, deeply ingrained reputational issues have resulted from years of severe scandal, legal scrutiny, and public outrage, not only for Prince Andrew himself, but also for individuals who are intimately related to him by blood and affiliation. The scene has drastically changed as public institutions, national charities, and international organizations become more conscious of public opinion and brand alignment. According to some branding experts, institutional associations that were once thought to be entirely benign or even extremely prestigious are now being assessed much more closely using a strict risk management lens. Reputation is more important than ever in today's hyper-connected political context, and organizations are always under pressure from the public, stakeholders, and contributors to exhibit complete accountability, complete transparency, and perfect institutional judgment. Even indirect, purely familial ties can suddenly become the focus of severe media criticism and public scrutiny. Some royal observers speculate that members of the larger York family, including Princess Eugenie herself, may have found daily living and career advancement considerably more difficult as a result of this quickly shifting social environment. If such analytical evaluation is accurate, Eugenie's abrupt resignation from her non-profit post might be a sign of something far bigger and more systematic than an administrative term limit or a straightforward, isolated career decision. It might be a direct reflection of modern organizations' deep-seated, rising unwillingness to expose themselves to even the smallest possibility of bad news association or public debate. For those who witness the modern monarchy, that particular option raises an extremely unsettling and thought-provoking question. Could Eugenie be silently suffering the detrimental effects on her career of outside events and family disputes that she had no control over and did not initiate? That is the exact point at which the story starts to change from discrete professional issues to something far larger, more systemic, and highly institutional, according to perceptive observers. Because within the palace gates, another extremely delicate matter was silently gaining enormous momentum, while the public's attention was first solely focused on her professional job and her abrupt departure. Housing, particularly the fiercely divisive topic of royal housing distribution. A much wider, more aggressive investigation into living arrangements linked to different members of the extended royal family is said to have developed from what began as quiet, localized discussions regarding specific homes and old leases. Crucially, there are no accusations of criminal misconduct or illicit action in this developing conversation. Princess Eugenie and her sister, Princess Beatrice, have not been the target of any such charges. Rather, the ideas of openness, justice, and contemporary ethics are the only focus of the growing institutional and public discourse. The highest levels of government and palace administration are reportedly being questioned about how some historic properties are used, who exactly occupies them, and whether these long-standing, heavily subsidized arrangements are still appropriate in a modern era that is more concerned with economic equity and financial accountability. For many years, the great majority of royal housing agreements received very little public or media attention, since they were mostly seen by the public and media as private family issues that the reigning king should handle discreetly. In the modern world, that conventional viewpoint seems to be fast shifting. Recent reports state that both political pundits and financial watchdogs have been paying unusual attention to a number of property deals expressly connected to non-working royals. All of a sudden, the main topics of intense public discourse and heated political debate were historic homes that had been silently and unquestioned in the background of royal life for years. Ivy Cottage, Princess Eugenie's principal residence safely situated within the historic grounds of Kensington Palace, is one of the properties drawing this renewed interest. Ivy Cottage is regarded as quite modest by big royal standards, lacking the enormous scale, architectural splendor, and historical significance typically associated with significant royal homes, such as apartments within the main palace complex. However, it is now firmly in the public eye due to its clear connection to the larger systemic discussion around royal privilege. What used to appear to be a perfectly normal, tranquil dwelling arrangement for a member of the royal family is now a crucial component of a much wider, considerably more contentious discussion about institutional transparency. In this sense, Ivy Cottage is by no means unique. There appears to be a systematic change in the way royal assets are handled, since reports indicate that official attention has quickly spread to include several estates associated with different members of the extended royal family. This significant change, according to observers, is a clear reflection of more general, quickly changing public expectations about organizations that are backed by public trust, crown estate properties, or public resources. Real estate arrangements that previously received little to no attention are now being scrutinized through an entirely different, extremely critical lens as a direct result of these shifting social expectations. This increased aggressive attention can be traced by many seasoned observers to one specific, highly contentious property, Royal Lodge. Prince Andrew's ongoing, heavily guarded stay at Royal Lodge has caused considerable political tension and public controversy for many years. Concerns about that particular, extremely profitable arrangement have frequently reappeared in the media, frequently serving as explosive focal points in far broader, more heated debates about institutional accountability, financial opacity, and royal privilege. These heated discussions about Royal Lodge may now have enormous, unanticipated repercussions throughout the entire extremely intricate royal property structure, according to numerous insider reports. When it comes to public scrutiny, once a thorough investigation starts in one particular area, it seldom stays contained. Rather, it nearly always spreads outward. Intense inquiries about one prominent property can swiftly and unavoidably give rise to systemic inquiries about others, and this seems to be precisely what has occurred in the contemporary royal landscape. According to reports, inquiries from the media and investigations have expanded much beyond a single contentious speech. Both internal palace auditors and external media outlets started paying considerably more attention to complicated property agreements, old leases, tenancy arrangements, and long-standing housing decisions made decades ago. This quickly changing climate provides an especially difficult and stressful scenario for Princess Eugenie and her sister, Princess Beatrice. It is thought that neither sister actively participated in the development or negotiation of these historic living arrangements. However, both are now embroiled in a very divisive public discussion that neither of them started and which is difficult to settle. One of the most persistent, recurrent motifs of royal life throughout history is highlighted by that harsh reality. The fact that people frequently find themselves emotionally invested in heated public debates due to their inescapable familial connections and inherited associations. Commentators claim that modern policymakers and palace officials seek to clearly show a skeptical public that no particular arrangement is completely beyond scrutiny. There shouldn't be any exclusions, preferential treatment based on past performance, or presumptions of perpetual entitlement. Every contract, lease, and housing benefit may eventually come under close scrutiny in the current era. Because Princess Eugenie is actively navigating important personal considerations and family milestones in addition to these larger, extremely stressful institutional discussions regarding real estate and reputation, this rapidly changing, highly scrutinized environment arrives at a particularly sensitive, deeply transformative moment for her personally. According to reports, she and her husband may be growing more concerned with practical, day-to-day issues related to domestic space and family life. Despite its undeniable attractiveness and historical significance, Ivy Cottage is not very spacious by the standards of a growing family. Domestic priorities inevitably change as families organically expand and young children grow. The value of physical space increases dramatically when every single housing decision runs the potential of garnering significant public attention and negative media headlines. Long-term future planning becomes much more crucial, and home decisions that were before completely simple and clear suddenly become much more involved. This combination of circumstances has resulted in a very sensitive, high-stakes balancing act for the young family, according to considerable media conjecture. Family requirements for space, privacy, and stability in the home are on one end of the spectrum. On the other hand, all royal housing arrangements are subject to institutional re-evaluation and increasing public scrutiny in a highly charged and unstable political climate. This dynamic directly leads to a situation where even completely ordinary domestic decisions can immediately make headlines throughout the world, provoke heated debate, and draw unwelcome criticism. Royal watchers closely examine every single move. Every possible real estate choice becomes a hot topic on the internet. Additionally, each option has serious long-term potential repercussions for their public image. That constant, oppressive pressure could be part of the reason why a completely different geographic area has become more and more prominent in discussions about their future. Portugal, Princess Eugenie and her husband, Jack Brooks-Bank, are said to have lived and worked there for a considerable, steadily growing period of time in recent years. What at first seemed to the general public to be a handy, short-term secondary base or a fun vacation spot has progressively and steadily assumed a much larger, far more strategic role. Portugal offers a great deal of lifestyle flexibility and freedom from strict protocol, according to certain analytical observers. Others see it as a rare chance to pursue a career completely free from the British media establishment. And for others, it can stand for something much more important and essential in today's world: distance. Distance from the rigorous, merciless scrutiny that unavoidably accompanies everyday life associated with the British royal family, distance from poisonous political discussions about royal funding, and distance from the incessant, invasive media attention. According to reports, they are having more structured and serious internal conversations about moving semi-permanently or spending a far greater percentage of their time overseas. It is completely unclear to outsiders if those high-level talks will eventually result in permanent, irreversible changes to their official residential status. However, the fact that the choice is active is crucial. Furthermore, a person's ability to access viable external options is crucial during times of extreme institutional uncertainty and public scrutiny. Any casual observer may see how profoundly appealing such a move is. A much calmer setting, much more privacy, far fewer intrusive inquiries regarding past living arrangements, and much less public scrutiny of their day-to-day activities and personal preferences. These practical benefits could be extremely significant for a young family actively seeking long-term stability and a typical upbringing for their children. However, the sharp, dramatic contrast between public perception and private reality is possibly the most genuinely fascinating, extremely illuminating aspect of this entire unfolding story. Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice seem to be enjoying one of the most extraordinarily pleasant, much applauded periods of public attention they had received in recent years for a few months prior to these discoveries. They attended important international events with grace. Alongside top leaders, they made major appearances at high-profile family gatherings, and the world's media documented their warm, poignant moments with their loved ones. The final images consistently conveyed a sense of complete assurance, unwavering stability, and hopeful optimism for the future. The York sisters appeared to be effectively and flawlessly reconstructing their public image, assuming a more recognized role, and moving past the historical shadows of the past to many outside observers and casual media consumers. The future seemed so promising and full of possibilities. However, a very distinct, extremely stressful set of institutional constraints may have been quickly emerging in private behind those meticulously documented, exquisitely orchestrated public moments. Behind the scenes, complex property issues, significant institutional funding problems, growing political scrutiny from reform organizations, deep family anxieties, and abrupt career transitions were all taking place at the same time. That striking contrast draws attention to a persistent, frequently unpleasant reality of royal life that has endured for many centuries. The fact that the public frequently only sees the institution's extremely well-groomed, painstakingly maintained exterior, while the severe human difficulties, concerns, and institutional conflicts are entirely concealed until they abruptly become apparent. The historical distance between those two distinct universes may now be rapidly closing, according to seasoned experts. In the end, what at first appeared to the public to be a normal, uninteresting resignation from a philanthropic position may turn out to be one little, interwoven element of a much larger, far more significant institutional reform. Princess Eugenie had a profound metamorphosis that also raised more general, extremely important concerns regarding the ultimate future course of the contemporary monarchy. In a time of economic crisis, how should historic housing arrangements be managed? To what extent should royal assets be completely transparent? What particular part, if any, should royals who are not employed play in public life? How can traditional family values be successfully reconciled with contemporary democratic norms? The palace is finding it more and more impossible to ignore or sidestep these important problems, which go much beyond the lives of any one person. The monarchy continues to face tremendous, unprecedented pressure to change quickly as public scrutiny steadily increases and economic realities bite. Internal planners are actively re-evaluating long-standing traditions that were ignored for a century. Social expectations are shifting more quickly than ever before, and historical structures are being critically re-evaluated. Everyone involved is forced to deal with a high level of uncertainty in that unstable setting. In this developing institutional drama, nobody really knows what will happen next. Maybe when new news cycles emerge, the intense public scrutiny will ultimately disappear from the headlines. Maybe the royal family as a whole can effectively adjust to these contemporary demands without suffering any major internal upheaval, or maybe completely new, mutually beneficial housing and professional arrangements will be discreetly established. Alternatively, it's possible that these recent events are just the very beginning, extremely unstable phases of a far more significant, far more radical structural change within the British monarchy. One thing appears to be definite for the time being. The spotlight in the public eye is getting brighter every day. The analytical questions are getting much more demanding and louder. Furthermore, Princess Eugenie, her husband, and possibly other notable members of the extended royal family may face a far different future than anyone could have predicted only a few short months ago. What started out as the silent, entirely unexpected disappearance of one significant charitable position has gradually developed into a huge, extremely complicated international discussion about individual reputation, institutional responsibility, overall family strategy, real estate equity, and the ultimate future course of the historic British monarchy. And occasionally, the particular tales that start out in complete stillness turn out to be the ones that everyone remembers for generations to come, as royal history has often demonstrated over the ages. What are your thoughts on the current state of affairs? Was Princess Eugenie's abrupt departure just an ordinary, boring administrative adjustment that the contemporary media machinery has greatly exaggerated? Or may it really be the first obvious, very important indication of a far larger, far more extensive change that is presently occurring completely behind the royal walls? This fascinating royal mystery is obviously far from ended, and the very next episode may finally reveal far more than anyone in the public expected. Please share your analytical views and personal theories in the comments section below.